What exactly is going on with Jude Bellingham?
The big story last year, every week.
This time last year, he was flying. He'd scored so many clutch goals already and was arguably the best player in the world at that point. 1 year later, Bellingham has been in the headlines for the wrong reasons. Misses like this have brought the dip in form. Or have they? When it gets down to it, if Bellingham isn't a bad player, then just how good is he actually? It's safe to say in the current 2024-25 season, the Real Madrid fans have seen a different version of Bellingham than the one they did last campaign. This goal against Osasuna was his first in 17 games this season. His first goal for both club and country. Wow! This season, Bellingham has been part of a Real Madrid team that has come under the spotlight for negative reasons. A 4-0 defeat to Barcelona, completely boycotting the Ballon d'Or ceremony, and then following that up with a 3-1 defeat at home to AC Milan. Back-to-back defeats, and in that Milan game, Bellingham missed a couple of clear chances. A rough week. In that stretch, the entire Madrid team came under the heat. No one was spared, meaning Bellingham's supposed flaws came under the light. To understand just how good Bellingham is, we've got to get to the root of where all the talk about him being bad is coming up from in the first place. Last season, Bellingham shocked the world. The La Liga Player of the Season, Champions League Young Player of the Season, Real Madrid's top scorer in the title-winning league campaign, an assist in the Champions League final, goals for England at the Euros, assist in the Euros final, all these achievements, and I haven't even mentioned the stats he's broken yet. The general idea is, for a first season in any top club, not even Real Madrid for that matter, Bellingham was incredible.
Jude Bellingham,
Oh my word.
I mean,
What a season.
He's still very, very, very young.
The plaudits didn't stop. It was like he had the world wrapped around the tongue of his predators last season. But this season has been a different case. So why's that then? Well, for starters, we're back to seeing the old Jude Bellingham. Because of the hype around him and what he did last season, it's easy to forget that the version of Bellingham we're seeing now is the one Real Madrid paid €103 million for. This one.
And everything that we've seen so far from Jude Bellingham this season.
Yeah, he's been carrying the team at times.
The hard-working Bellingham. Regardless of all the talk around his scoring goals last season, Bellingham has been doing an immense job in Madrid's midfield of late. This time last season, he already had 14 goals to his name. This year, he's got just one. Is that a problem? Well, it depends on the angle you're looking at. This season, Bellingham leads the Madrid team for the most tackles with 8, the most duels won with 20, and the most high-intensity pressure with 169. That last category particularly stands out because it defines who exactly Jude Bellingham is. For one thing, he never stops giving everything on the pitch. It's almost as if he's everywhere, winning tackles, getting stuck in, duels, and then having the energy to press and push up. It takes a lot to be able to perform at this kind of level repeatedly, and that's what Bellingham has been doing a lot of this season.
Lo que sorprende de Bellingham es que tiene 20 años. Parece que no tiene 30 para su carácter, su personalidad.
Carlo Ancelotti said in the interview, talking about Bellingham's many qualities, and it seemed that, to a very large extent last season, the hype was simply around his goal scoring. To be fair though, it would have been very hard to escape. He scored 23 goals last season, including scoring in his first 3 Champions League games. He had 5 goals in his first 4 La Liga games, and his debuts in different competitions were spot on. Now, Bellingham isn't scoring goals. It feels like there's a drop-off when, in reality, it's just back to basics. Now, I did say Bellingham reverted to what Madrid had bought from Dortmund this season, and that's the version of the player we're seeing now. At Borussia Dortmund, Bellingham was the hard-working piece in midfield.
But he wanted every single ball. Whenever I see him, he doesn't shy away. He wants the ball.
The guy who could do everything, as Henry said, and not just focused on one major part. A lot of Bellingham's work this season is also down to the tactics as well. Last season, Real Madrid played in a 4-4-2 system that saw Bellingham fit into that diamond role in the advanced position in midfield, and that's why he was getting on the end of things last season, or being the final ball in the box, because the system allowed it. This season though, with this guy around, it's a different story. Kylian Mbappe has arrived now, and Carlo Ancelotti's now had to tweak the formation just to fit him into the team. Now, Real Madrid operates in a 4-3-3 system, and as one of the 3 in midfield, it now means Bellingham's major responsibility is to do what he's been doing this season, and that's put a shift in midfield. If anything, minus a lack of goals, solely on the role he's been asked to play this season, he's been one of Madrid's standout performers. When he made this assist to Mbappe in the UEFA Super Cup final versus Atalanta, it seemed like the start of a Real Madrid dream team. It hasn't quite worked out like that yet. Some even believe there might be internal issues between Bellingham and Mbappe over the recent happenings this season, but it's been far from that.
You know, Kylian Mbappe, what a player, you know, who wouldn't want to play with someone as good as him?
So far it is. Just going back to the game versus Dortmund, the 5-2 comeback win, and there was something about the two that caught the eye. After the game, Bellingham's post on Instagram talked about him improving his finishing, and in the comments below, Mbappe has some special words for his new teammate. Seems they could be cooking up something very soon, so now he's reverted to what he was at Dortmund, the original version we came to understand. Just how good is the guy? For starters, it's hard to believe he's still only 21. With everything he's achieved so far, Bellingham is still in the very early stages of his career. But even still, he's mixing up with some of the best players in the world and bossing it. Classic Jude Bellingham. He wants every ball, going way back. He was even surprising one of the GOAT managers.
Can you believe that he's only 17?
I cannot believe it. Maybe he's a liar.
I bet Pep still can't believe Bellingham's age every time he plays. He's a leader already in the dressing room and impresses his teammates almost every game.
Jude is, I think he showed to everyone what kind of player and what talent he is.
He's like a warrior in midfield, as Modric said. His mentality and willingness to compete for every ball and every tackle sends him out. And there's even more.
I think it's rare to find a player with this kind of quality.
Carlo Ancelotti thinks he's rare and Modric thinks he's quality. These are two guys who have been with some of the biggest games in the world. Getting the type of praise Jude has from these guys is impressive. In that Madrid midfield, Bellingham's qualities make him one Ancelotti cannot do without. Why? Well, because he's a combination of everything. Comparing him to Aurelien Tchouameni, for example. Tchouameni is the one who acts as the defensive midfielder or the anchor in the team, the one who covers the space and gets into tackles and plays safe passes. Bellingham can do a job in there, as we've seen, or a player like Federico Valverde, for example. Two players who are both similar and very different, and I'll let you know how in a bit. But first, the subscribe button to Football Historia is staring at you in the face if you haven't clicked it yet. Bellingham, like Valverde, has the tireless energy to keep running for as long as the team demands it. Valverde might be more versatile, in the sense that he can play a vast number of positions more than Bellingham. But when it comes to Jude, the quality on display is sometimes amazing to watch. Taking up that number 5 shirt, it's like watching a 2.0 version of Zidane, only this time with a 10 out of 10 hairline. Another thing that makes Bellingham so good is how, still at 21, he's already matured into a leader on the pitch. In his final season at Dortmund, he captained the team on numerous occasions and came within minutes of helping them win the league. We've seen him for England already.
Here's the overhead kick from Bellingham!
In games like this, when the team looks dead, he turns up with special performances. He's got the X factor about him that allows him to perform the two basic functions at a go. In the box-to-box role he plays, it requires a lot of energy to function, which means that Bellingham has to defensively be solid in the middle of the park. Last season, he ranked in the 95th percentile for tackles won, duels, and possessions won in the final third among Spanish players. This season, the numbers are even better. 19 tackles this season, 2.75 tackles per 90, which ranks him in the 93rd percentile for tackles this season, 10 interceptions, or 1.45 per 90, which ranks him in the 90th percentile this season. Defensively, he's been solid, and here comes the crazy part. Attacking-wise, he's actually putting up similar numbers. Pretty sure you'd be wondering how, when he's only got 1 goal for Madrid this season, and 2 in all competitions. But goals are quite simply put the end product. There's a passage of play before that, and Bellingham is more often than not usually involved in this. He's already notched up 8 key passes this season, out of which 2 have been converted into assists. Out of the 383 passes he's completed this season, 347 of these passes have been successful, ranking him in the 85th percentile for passes completed, and the 92nd percentile with a pass completion rate of 90.6. I could go on with the stats, but first off, for a midfielder, it's never really about the numbers, it's about the eye test. What he brings to the team, how they perform when he's not there, and with Bellingham, it's safe to say without him, Madrid lose that presence in the middle of the park. So if we know he's this good, Then why has he been struggling this season? Well, we've already touched on the positional change he's had to endure at Real Madrid with Mbappe's arrival, the new role, and there's another reason for that.
Es que no ha marcado los goles que ha marcado el año pasado, mas la sorpresa no es este año. La sorpresa ha sido el año pasado, que ha marcado un montón de goles que nadie esperaba, y que no nos han ayudado mucho.
Carlo Ancelotti perfectly explains it. The problem, the real surprise, isn't with Bellingham's lack of goals this year. It's with the amount of goals he scored in the previous campaign. No one expected him to hit the ground running like he did. I'd bet not even Bellingham himself expected it. Now, Bellingham's become a victim of his success, and the truth is that we could be looking at him and his game from the wrong aspect, the lack of goals. At 21, if anything, Bellingham is continuing to improve from his previous season. He looks stronger, gets into more tackles, and the progression has been steady. The goals just overshadow this.
But yeah, I just try and help the team on any given day, do whatever role it takes, even if it means that maybe I have to sacrifice myself a little bit for the team at times. I'm willing to do it every single time.
The real ones know though.
It's huge potential, huge talent. You go to the club that the environment was clean.
Getting praise from Ronaldo like that, Bellingham's definitely meant for success. Now guys, there's been the argument that Bellingham and his career so far hasn't been all that, and the only reason we're even talking about him this much is because of the hype from the English press. To this end, the performances in the second half of the previous season came under the radar. Bellingham's second half of the 2023-24 season wasn't as spectacular as the first part was, and that's why he's not been performing as well as he did last season. And to get the best answer to this, we've got to do a little player comparison first. Bellingham, Federico Valverde, Eduardo Camavinga, Aurelien Tchouameni, Luka Modric, Dani Ceballos, and Arda Güler are the midfield options Madrid has this season. Out of these guys, ranking players with the most goal contributions from midfield, Modric's total tally of 8 goal contributions ranks him first. Valverde and Bellingham at 5 each both rank in second. The point? Well, the hype in the first place only came around because of the goal contributions from the last campaign. And when you factor in that Valverde has played more minutes, with 1,437 than Bellingham's 1,117 this season, you realise that from that midfield position, at joint second, Bellingham is having the kind of season that is to be expected of a player in that box-to-box role. As regards the hype, anyone who's watched him play knows the truth. This isn't hype, he's the real deal. At his age, he's supposed to still be learning his trade, but instead he's cutting his game against some of the best players in the world at the most successful club in European football, taking on the legendary Zinedine Zidane's number 5 jersey. I mean, come on. There's quite literally very little he could do at this point. Bellingham himself knows he can improve his game. He just wants to keep learning and keep getting better, and that's what he's doing so far. Honestly, if there was a drop-off this season from Madrid, it's been a collective one. That Bellingham's come under the spotlight for this, or had to shoulder a part of the blame, seems unfair, given the amount of work he's had to put in this season, and the role change. But that's the pressure that comes with playing for a club like Real Madrid, and Bellingham is now finding out that a club this big, there are no days off. The performances have to be at 100% always. It's scary to think how at 21, he's still got a whole career ahead of him. In the next 10 years, he'll be 31. The next 15 years, he'd be 36. We're talking about a guy who hasn't got anywhere near what is considered to be a prime age at football, around 27 to 32, and is already performing at such a high level. He's part of a generation that could very well define the game for years to come. Imagine that he, Tchouameni, Camavinga, Arda Güler, Valverde and Real Madrid made a proactive decision when they chose to sign Bellingham. The club knew what they were getting, and hey, if the head coach and the rest of his teammates weren't complaining, then it means he's doing something right they can all see. I'll tell you one guy who's not exactly doing the right thing though, him. At Real Madrid now, Kylian Mbappe's time in the Spanish capital has been a mixed bag, from offside calls to the Ballon d'Or saga, and even a section of the fans threatening to turn on him. Click the next video to find out just how bad Kylian Mbappe actually is.